To imagine the results of the future, you have to perceive the present differently. Try to imagine the world in the year 2100. What do you see? For most people, the future looks pretty tempting. When we talk about the future, we do not just mean the passage of time, but the progress made during that time. That is, differences from the present. Progress is divided into horizontal and vertical. 1. Horizontal progress is the development of existing ideas and innovations. Its main gas pedal is globalization, which promotes the spread of existing ideas to more people. 2. Vertical progress is the creation of something that did not exist before, a new technology or method of production. That is, horizontal progress is movement from one tune, and vertical progress is from 0 to 1. Example: horizontal progress is the mass production of telephones and their distribution in developing countries. Vertical progress is the creation of the smartphone. Vertical progress is difficult to predict because you have to imagine something that does not yet exist in nature. It is possible to predict future progress by looking at the present from a different perspective. In order to see the future, one must take a critical view of the present. For only a person capable of thinking outside of established norms can see and change the future. Example: the author considers this ability to be extremely important, so in an interview he asks candidates to cite a commonly held belief with which they disagree. You alone are in charge of your future. How do you prepare to face so many different and unknown circumstances that await you in the future? Modern people try to prepare for any future, but it is useless because it contains too many options and variables. It is better to make a deliberate effort and create your own future. Example: many high school students attend many extracurricular activities to get into a prestigious university. But isn't it smarter to focus on one discipline to become the best at it? It is purposeful effort that leads to success, not higher powers. After all, if success were a simple consequence of luck, we wouldn't see the repeated achievements of people like Steve Jobs or the author of the book who started several successful businesses. Every startup is destined for one better future for it, requiring focused effort. Why only one? Because it requires special conditions. One best market for the company's products, one best time for release, etc., and in order not to miss the right moment, you have to consciously choose your path. The main difficulty is determining the ideal conditions for a startup. Decide for yourself what kind of future you are aiming for. And remember that only a person capable of thinking outside the established norms can see the future. Monopolies are good for business and society. When people hear the word monopoly, they think of big criminal companies unfairly crowding out competitors. But they are wrong. Competition is thought to be the perfect economic stimulus as companies try to stand out from the rest. However, it is monopolies that foster innovation. How is this possible? If you have a monopoly, it doesn't mean competition is unfair. You're just doing something much better than others. If you create something new and other companies can't match you, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Example: Google is a monopoly in the internet search engine industry with little or no competition. This may seem unfair to other companies, but it benefits everyone who enjoys using Google. Monopoly is beneficial to society because it promotes progress, inspiring other businesses to figure out how to push such a company out of the market. Example: to compete in the search engine market, a company must outperform Google. If it succeeds, it is the consumers who win. Monopoly is a condition for the existence of a highly profitable business. It allows you to set your own prices, which make your profits high. If your product is no better than the competition, you have to lower your prices, which means lower profits. Example: in the highly competitive airline industry, prices are incredibly low. In 2012, one passenger flight brought in only $0.37. At the same time, more than a quarter of Google's revenue is profit. The secrets of a successful company cannot be copied. In today's world, it seems that the possibilities of vertical progress are exhausted, and it is no longer possible to come up with something new. But this dangerous misconception can hinder your success. The world is full of secrets that most people don't know about. That's why they are so hard, but not impossible, to uncover. Often these secrets are deeply rooted in society, and it can take centuries to discover them. Example: slavery several centuries ago was a common, socially acceptable phenomenon. At the time, the injustice of slavery was a secret. The best secret for a technology company is advanced technology. They can make its leadership positions invulnerable. You need to find and appropriate such secrets. Otherwise, you will become just another participant in horizontal progress, selling ordinary goods in a competitive market. Example: in the 1990s, Hewlett-Packard developed the best technology and used it, launching innovative products one after another: an inexpensive color printer and a universal printer, a copier and a fax machine. A completely delusional idea for that time. But in the 2000s, the company changed its strategy, so it lost half of its market value. It takes years of work to build a successful, profitable company. We think of monopolies as giants, towering above their competitors. But they were not like that right away. Creating a successful monopoly takes a long time. This is especially true of profits. A startup can take decades to become a profitable business. But even if a company is not initially profitable, it has value. Value is determined by the profits it can make throughout its operations. Example: in 2001, PayPal made no profit at all. The author calculated the company's value and found that most of it consisted of revenue that PayPal wasn't supposed to make until 10 years later. Don't hope to become a leader right away. Count on the long term. How do you make a startup a profitable monopoly? Start small and grow little by little. Become the best at what you do. Start by finding a market that is as narrow and specific as possible. It's easier to become a dominant player that way. And once you gain a monopoly in that niche, you can enter a broader market. Example: Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, set out to become the world's greatest online retailer. But at first he only sold books. After conquering the book market, Amazon gradually began to offer other product categories. So Amazon did not come to success overnight. Startups need a solid foundation. A company needs to build a solid foundation in order to survive in the long run. That's why the early days of building a business are incredibly important. A major component of the foundation is good employees. Startups are usually small, and every team member plays an important role. Example: the author, before investing in a company, analyzes not only the skills of the people, but also their personal connections. He knows what it means to have a disconnected team. Before he founded PayPal with Luke Nosek, the author invested in Nosek's company, which he started with a guy he barely knew, and later their differences ruined the company. It is also important to balance the interests of the owners of the company. The founders and investors may have different interests, but the company should not suffer from this. Example: the founders of a company may take their time to develop a product, while the board of directors is usually eager to make a profit sooner. These interests are not in conflict, but they can lead to conflict, so it is important to determine how to eliminate such situations early on. Create a strong culture in the startup team to improve performance. Corporate culture is not only about nice perks for employees, pool table and drink machine, but also about relationships between people. Example: thanks to PayPal's corporate culture, the team became so close that many later started their own companies together. Your products won't sell themselves, your employees do. When you hear the words sales manager, most people imagine a man in a cheap suit going door to door offering to buy a vacuum cleaner. Not the most pleasant image. But for business, sales are vital. People passionate about technology prefer to focus on product development, but their efforts will be in vain if the product doesn't reach the consumer. No product will be bought if it is not sold. Effective selling requires proper distribution. It involves not only sales channels, but also the labor of salespeople. Each customer's potential must be studied before deciding how much effort to put into the sale. Example: the author was one of the founders of Palantir, where just one sale brought in several $1,000,000. In such a venture, the CEO must personally make the sale because clients paying such sums expect the CEO to be personally involved. If the deals bring in only a few $100,000 each, however, it's inefficient to waste the time of a highly paid CEO. but the CEO will still need a strong sales team. Another way to distribute is to use sales strategies. Many people don't like salespeople because sales is associated with manipulating people. Obvious attempts to influence the consumer are not successful, but there are strategies that will persuade anyone. Example: think of Tom Sawyer. He was such a skilled salesman that he made money painting a fence. But even today, there are equally creative salespeople. Founders are big originals, but their vision is crucial to the company. What does the average startup founder look like? These are odd people, especially in the case of successful companies. Maybe they're like that from birth, or they're just imitating someone. But almost every founder of a successful company is a little unconventional. Example: look at PayPal's founding team. Almost every member is weird. As teenagers, 4 of them were even into making bombs. Originality is important because the founders do more than just start a company. They imbue it with a vision. No matter how perfect the management strategies, the company must follow a certain mission. Example: consider Steve Jobs' return to Apple in 1997. He began by launching the iPod in 2001, which was dismissed by analysts as just a fancy gadget for Mac users. But all the genius of Jobs' plan came to fruition when Apple introduced the iPhone and iPad, creating a series of Apple devices distinguished by their sleek shape and exclusive features. Jobs actually made Apple the most expensive company in the world by following a plan based on his own vision. Even great companies need the originality of their founders. Most importantly, the success of a startup doesn't depend on luck. You create your own future if you can defy conventional wisdom. Become the best at what you do, and success will come to you. Take a niche first. If you find an unusual idea for a startup, do not try to conquer a large market at once. Identify a small niche in which you can do something better than your competitors. By creating a monopoly in it, you will be able to enter other markets. The world is still full of secrets. Discover them. Remember that secrets are revealed only to those who can think outside the established norms. You need to spot a winning idea that no one else has developed and master it to step from 0 to 1. That's the only way you'll succeed.